Say what's cracking, YouTube? It's your boy 16 to life, and I'm back like I'm on a pro violation. Yard down! Now, for those of y'all that's new to my page, in 1994, I got arrested. I was eventually sentenced to 16 years plus life, and I served 24 years straight in the California prison system. During those times, I accumulated some good stories and some great insight on things related to prison. I'm gonna share some with y'all today. If you like the video, hit the like button, hit the comment button, leave something in the comments, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. That way, anytime I drop a story, you will be notified ASAP Rocky, and you can hop on it whenever you're ready. Also, be sure to check out my YouTube playlist for some of my older stories. I got them in certain categories. I'm sure you will find something interesting. And hit that YouTube playlist for gas stations if you're interested in listening to some of my music. Don't get it twisted. The flow is nothing like Curtis Blow. I gas, so definitely be sure to check me out. So, not long ago, I did a video talking about DPs, and the name of that video, I think, was the first time I ever saw a DP on a level 4 yard. I got a lot of comments asking me, what is a DP? Well, a DP is just an abbreviation for the word discipline. Excuse me. A discipline is something that's carried out in the California prisons by all organizations, by all cars. At times they deem it necessary when an individual who has chose to associate himself with that particular collective becomes a liability, or he's jeopardizing he's jeopardizing the safety of the people he has chose to align himself with. It's sad, but it's true that sometimes in prison, violence is the only thing that some people respect. Let's think about it. When we talking about, prison, sometimes you got the worst of the worst. You got robbers, you got murderers up in there, burglars, con men, dope fiends, and you have some people who are gonna try to get away with as much as possible, and so sometimes, you have tough guys in there who think that just their size or the being able to fight well makes them exempt from the rules that have been set in place by their organization or their car or whatever. There's a saying in prison, and they said basically it's something like this, that no one man is bigger than the particular car or the organization he has chose to align himself with, right? And you have different type of DPs or different type of disciplines. It just all depends on, like I said once again, whatever particular car you have chose to align yourself with, deem is necessary. Now, the disciplines, they're not always physical beatdowns. Sometimes the disciplines may be, you may have to write a book report about the infraction that you committed, to make sure who you function with, to make sure you understand the seriousness of whatever it is they feel you have violated. Sometimes the discipline is an exercise. I've seen where, sometimes people are disciplined by their car or their homies, and they might have to run 12 laps, and they may have to run those laps every time on the yard until they finish, or they might have to go out there and do 1,000 burpees. They might have to complete the 1,000 burpees before they can do any other type of activity, basketball, dominoes, or whatever like that. So it just all depends on, the people who are running your car, what they feel is the appropriate punishment, I guess, because at the end of the day, a discipline is a punishment, and people wonder, or may wonder, what are some of the things that might bring on a DP? Well, definitely owing people, especially owing other organizations, where once again you start to jeopardize the people that you associate with, because in the California prisons, everything is divided into racial fractions, I guess, or racial factions. And so just me, if I happen to owe somebody from another race, and I happen to owe too long, that specific race or that specific person may get tired of waiting for their money or whatever. So then, the situation, of course, is going to have to be remedied, and it may lead to me getting beat up or even worse, depending on the situation, also depending on how many times I may have found myself in this predicament, because when the yard goes down and we get locked down and stuff, there are a lot of things that are stopped because of one person's ignorance. You know, a lot of money making, a lot of visits. People have plans and stuff, and when the yard is shut down and the yard is not moving for, you know, several days, several weeks, or whatever, several months, the people trying to make money can't make money. People can't handle their business, and so it just really messes up, you know. And so, like I said, it's sad, but violence is the only thing that some people understand, you know. And I definitely seen it firsthand. You know, I've seen people on 4 yards, which is the most dangerous prison in the California system, and they conduct themselves like a upstanding convict. Then I may see them get down on a level 2 or a level 3 that's kind of relaxed, and they're doing things that they definitely wouldn't have done on a level 4. And it's simply because that threat of violence, you know, that fear of being stabbed, beat up, or killed keeps some people in line. Doesn't keep everybody in line, but it definitely keeps somebody in line, you know. So you also could be DP'd for, you know, you came to the yard drunk too many times. Some organizations, they have mandatory yards. You know, if you didn't show up for a mandatory yard, maybe a situation happened, you know, and you didn't support or help your homie in the appropriate manner that is dictated by that organization, or that's, you know, that's thought to be proper in certain situations, you know. So like I said, it's just a bunch of different things that can lead to a person being DP'd in prison, you know. People have asked me before that once a person gets DP'd, is he deemed no good? It just all depends, you know. Each, like I said, each infraction is different. Now, if you happen to get DP'd for coming to the yard being drunk too many times, being a liability to yourself and your homies who have to come support you, you may be able to get beat up, and then you may be able to remain on that yard. They may want you to go to another yard, and you're still deemed good, you know. If you have an older debt, you know, you still may be deemed good. You may get beat up, knocked out, sent to another yard, but once you get over there, you still deemed good, you know. Of course, things like snitching, certain things like that, once you get disciplined, no, you know, you're no longer considered good. So like I said, it all, again, comes down to what you've done first and foremost, then of course who you have chose to align yourself with. You know, sometimes though too, I've seen people DP'd due to dirty politics. You know, some people out there may believe that whatever organization a person is from, it's all love in that organization. There is no dissension. There is no internal beef or dislike. And let me tell you, that's not true. You know, I've done 24 years straight. I've seen it happen in all different races, all different organizations, because you have in a certain collective, right? You'll have many people in that collective. Maybe sometimes 200-300 on the yard, depending on what particular group a person is from. Maybe 15, 20, maybe 40 or 50. And more times than not, those people are in that organization due to their geographical location. And so people have basically just been thrown together, so to speak, due to where they happen to grow up at. And, you know, everybody is not going to like everybody. You know, that's not the situation. You know, some organizations may hide it better than others. Some organizations don't allow, you know, hands-on internal beef on display in front of other people. But like I say, I'm here to tell you, you know, I've seen it, I've heard it. You have many different cars who don't like people, you know, within their car. You know, I've been on the yard with people who have grown up together. They are from the same hood, you know, because sometimes you may have cars that are, you know, they may have people that's, you know, 30-40 miles apart, but they fall under that same car. You know, you may have people from the exact same hood who grew up on the same street, and they don't, you know, they don't like each other for whatever reason. But due to being in prison, they are forced somewhat to come together because of their, you know, because of their proximity on the street, but they still don't have to like each other. And so I've seen people get dirty politic. You know, I've seen people, you know, I told you guys a story about, I think the name of that story was, he was DP'd because a Crip pulled a knife on another Crip. So now the dude who done it, right, he accepted his punishment. He knew what he done was wrong, but he still was upset about it, and he still blamed the dude who he initially got into it with for him being DP'd and knocked out on the yard, you know. And so He used to tell me all the time, hey, chill, man, I just can't wait, man. I just can't wait till that dude slip up. So what he was saying basically was he was looking for any justifiable reason to be able to fight this dude. He didn't want to just, because they was in the same building. He didn't want to just go over there and fight him because he feared, once again, that retribution from his car. He had already been knocked out on the yard once over something foul that he wasn't supposed to do, pulling a knife on one of his homies. So he definitely wanted to make the next time they got into it something where he could justify within the prison politics a reason. And he eventually about 5-6 months later on, found his chance. He called the dude out. He went and got a fight, and actually, the fight turned out better than he thought. He just thought he was gonna beat up the dude and run through him. But like I say, that stuff happens all the time, man, where a person will politic a person because of maybe a position, maybe a dislike that he has from him. And so, like I say, the dirty politics is where you really I won't necessarily say you create a situation, but you're looking for a person to do something so you can justifiably, do what you want to do to him. Some of the worst, in some of the worst DPs, I told you guys a story about the Asians get active. And I don't think I ever mentioned in that story why they really had tripped on the dude. I forget the dude's name. I always kind of change the names, but basically the dude was, he was a clerk and he worked he worked in the program office. So he had power at moving certain individuals to certain cells. And so the agents wanted their homie who worked in the program office to move one of their homies in the cell with another dude, and he didn't do it quick enough to their liking. He ended up also moving a black dude. He made a bed move. He made a cell move, which is like, okay, if me and I'm in the cell with somebody and we're not necessarily getting along, or we could be getting along, and I just want to move upstairs in the cell with my homie or whatever, So those are cell moves. So the Asian dude, he made a cell move for some blacks before he made the cell move for the Asians, and they got mad about that, and so they basically, was looking for a reason to do what they do, Another one of DPs that I seen, the name of that story is The Fresno Car Goes Too Far, which was a cold DP. Normally when a person gets DP'd, it's maybe by 2 people, maybe by 3 of his homies. This youngster got DP'd because they thought that he had owed some money to a dude for some cigarettes, which was only $2 or $3, but they failed to do their due diligence and really check out the story. But they beat the youngster real bad, knocked him down, kicked him. And once again, Fresno, a city out in California, is a real wild city in terms of gang banging and stuff like that. But one thing that is unique about the Fresno car is you'll have people in the Fresno car pushing together in a collective that get that beef and shoot and kill each other on the street. And so, you may have 2 neighborhoods that's not getting along on the street, but in prison they're running together because they're from the same city. So of course you're going to have animosity, you're going to have dislike, you're going to have hate, and so when a person, you're going to have animosity, dislike, and hate for a person who's from that other gang. So when he does something in prison that's legitimately rude or violation, and you get to DP one of your enemies from the street, you're going to treat him bad, and so that's basically what they done to the youngster. They knocked him down, kicked him and stuff. You're not supposed to kick your homie in no DP. And then on top of all that, come to find out that he really didn't owe the dude, the cigarette man. So then they turned around and went and disciplined the cigarette man, I guess, for telling a story that got their homeboy DP. So like I say, I've seen some cold DPs. Now, sometimes in prison, everybody's not going to accept that DP, regardless of whatever situation, regardless of, how much they adhere to the convict code or whatever. Some people is not just going to stand back and be assaulted. And I have seen, dudes fight back and win. Dudes fight 2 or 3 dudes, and get their money on them. So like I say, it just all depends on the certain individual. Now, what's going to happen though? It all depends who, like I said, once again, you align yourself with. If they send 2 or 3 dudes to DP a dude who was clearly wrong and he whoops those dudes, they may just continue to send more and more people at this dude until they handle this dude and take care of their business, man. So it just all depends, Me personally, because I was from an organization, or should I say a collective in prison, that It was two separate counties that made up the IE card, which is the Inland Empire, San Bernardino County and Riverside County. And all the cities within those two counties is what make up the Inland Empire for those who choose to align themselves. Nobody is forced to run, so I say all that to say that it was a big, at times, it was a big car. It may be 25, 30 people on the yard, and people who I had never, had never met until I got to prison, people who could live 2 or 3 hours from where I grew up at. And so my thing was, I didn't necessarily like to discipline anybody unless I felt that it was time for him to leave the yard. Like I said earlier, some people could get DP'd and could stay on the yard and remain with their homies. But my thinking on that was, when you have to physically put your hands on somebody, everybody's not going to accept that. Everybody's not going to accept that. Some people are going to hold animosity. They're going to hold anger and hatred in their heart, and they may look for an opportunity to pay you back or pay somebody back that put their hands on him. So, I believe when you put your hands on somebody, it's time for that dude to go. Don't never whoop on somebody and think that he may not, want to come back and get revenge. The dude may just sit back 2 or 3 months, a year, and just wait to stab you or any old type of thing. Because just because you are supposed to do a certain thing don't necessarily mean a person is going to do it. Of course, yes, if a person gets caught stealing, he's supposed to accept his discipline, but he may not do it. He may not go for it regardless of whatever violation that he committed. You know what I'm saying? And so for you to sit back and think that a person is just going to accept that because it's quote unquote the rules, that's when you are, in my opinion, you are not taking your life seriously, because you never know what the next man is going to do. If everybody done what they were supposed to do, we wouldn't be in prison in the first place. So anyway, you already know what it is, man. That's my little breakdown on DPs. Are they necessary? And the answer to that is yes. Sometimes in prison they are necessary, because if not, people are gonna run buck wild. To be honest, the fear of violence keeps a lot of people in line. Anyway, you already know what it is. It's your boy 16 to life. Resume normal program.